My name is Raman Ahuja. I work as an independent resource person in food and agriculture value chains with a primary focus on smallholder farmers and how technology can help in improving production reliability and consumption. So our experience as a country of green revolution has clearly shown that at least in the northern India states, the paddy and wheat cycle has depleted both soil and water resources. These in turn have contributed to climate change. Soil organic content has come down dramatically, which means the natural properties of the soil are no longer available for nutrition uptake into the plant. The water table in North India, I'm sure you've read enough of that, is depleted dramatically. COVID has forced farmers to look at alternate ways of farming paddy. Absence of labor during paddy cultivation season typically has now moved from a transplanting way of planting paddy to a direct seeded way, so which in turn hopefully will save water over a period of time. However, this is not adequate to revive the natural resources of soil and climate, which contribute to preventing greenhouse gas emission. We need to look at natural land races of a particular region to be able to, those are more adaptable to the soil and water requirements, to be able to promote climate resilience. And that's really where the focus should be. So it's not a one-size-fits-all story. What is needed for a particular location should be understood and should be harnessed and improved for local production improvement. So how do we make millets exciting? I think I would say, how do we make millets more important in the consumption baskets of people? Let's just go back a little bit, 25 years, 30 years, when the food processing story picked up in India, right? The arrival of McDonald's in late 90s, the McCain potato, Frito-Lay, all these. So our food habits on processed foods are very, very recent. Unlike many other parts of the world, especially the developed world, where processed food habits are almost 100 years old. There is a famous saying in the US which goes like this: eat what you can what you can't. So what you can't eat, put it in a can and store it. India has never really seen that kind of processing, and even today, despite all the efforts of the government, our processed food industries are still very, very nascent when compared to developed markets. So we really have an opportunity to, in some sense, rediscover what we forgot maybe 25, 30 years ago, and in the context of Green Revolution 40 years ago, and bring it back within a couple of generations. We need to be mindful that we don't bring it back instantaneously, because we're not talking about fast food. We bring it back over a couple of generations so the habits get revived, the taste palettes get rekindled. And that's really very, very important. A typical marketing campaign would say, here and now, and let's get consumption driven. But that's not really the focus that should be for reviving consumption of millets, especially among urban India. Yeah. So we need to do it gradually. We need to make sure it is done for the right reasons, that eating millets contributes to health and nutrition, and at some level it has got a social benefit as well, right? That's really the key message in terms of bringing millets to the larger population in the country. Now, how do we transfer those benefits to the producer remains a challenge. Now, there are existing means of government procurement systems, which are, we've seen examples of those in Odisha, where the government is procuring millets at the nationally declared minimum support price, which are transferring significant benefits to the producer. However, we would need to go much further than that, because everything in the consumption system cannot be dependent on what the government does. So what we need to look at is, how do we create, for lack of another phrase, inclusive market systems, where the benefits of urban consumption in terms of price transfer are moved to the producer. Now, that's a process of discovery. So, one of the ways to do it is to look at a transparent pricing mechanism where the structures of the market are revealed and the benefits are then shared with the producer. What is important to recognize is while we look at the benefits in terms of price capture and sharing with the producer, we often tend to miss the fact that the risk of the producer is far higher than the consumer. Just as an example, as an urban consumer, we can look at both going back in time and forward in time. So if I want fresh potatoes, I can go to the market and buy fresh potatoes today. If I want puree, I can buy puree in the market and consume it whenever I want. However, the same choice is not available to the producer. The producer only moves in one direction in time. That is, having sown today, I may get an outcome 30, 60, 90 days from now. However, I have no way of turning back the clock. Now, that choice being available to a consumer in the urban part or any part of the country and not being available to the producer really creates a lot of asymmetry, which means the risk of failure either on account of weather or on account of market, which is consumer choice, is very high for the producer. We need to bring in those measures that mitigate that risk for the producer, and in case that risk actually becomes an event, which means it could create a problem for the production or for his sales, we need to find ways of ensuring against that, either operationally or financially. So it's not just the transfer of benefit, but equally, in my view, more important is the risk management of this whole process. During some of the work that I've been doing and field visits to states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, etc., what I found was a fairly high level of commitment from the producer community to understand how millet production and consumption can be revived in their areas. I'll give you an example. This was during a visit to a district in Odisha, Gajapati district, where I was talking to a farmer and he said, "Sir, I've been planting hybrid maize for last 3-4 years. However, because of weather conditions and variability, and we have cyclones here in Odisha, the maize crop is always either too much or too little, and there is no reliability. The traders are also tired of this kind of a situation." And then talking to my neighboring farmers and the work that Odisha Millet Mission is doing, I decided to plant millets in my crop. That has given me a more reliable crop, and the outcomes from there, I am now able to go and get, let's say, bullock for animal drawn farm mechanization. Also, my family and the elders in the family saw millets and they're saying that, well, this is something we've been consuming in the past. So we are glad, we are happy to see. Now, this is just an anecdotal example of what is happening in the heartland. And I must say the work that is being done by Mission on Millets is very significant to actually bring back these traditional ways of looking at it. Farmers have said that as we leave in the morning to go to our fields, we typically have our meals and carry in the summertime the millet chas, ragi chas, and that's how their day has been managed. That's how they manage the temperatures during the day. Now, these are traditional habits. The families are also cognizant that they have youngsters in the family, right? So some of the women folk with whom we have interacted have said, please teach us how to make baking items. Otherwise, the children who watch different channels of media, they will not get convinced to consume millets. Now, this goes back to the earlier point that I made, that we need to move the consumption habit over a couple of generations and should not be an instant fast food story. So, the Mission on Millets is supporting baking activity at the grassroots level and also teaching them how to develop recipes, work with recipes that are more modern day recipes on millets. So baking cookies, maybe some type of millet burfi or whatever. And that really is an example of how millet production and consumption both at the grassroots level can be revived. Producers are very happy in general simply because millet is one of those crops that is climate resilient and it grows on its own primarily. There will be some output loss, however it's very easy to manage. So the producers are very pleased. They want a basket of crops to grow so that they're able to feed their families and also where possible interact with the market. However, but their aim is very clear. Now they want to make sure part of the production basket includes millets. As an urban consumer, we need to be cognizant of two things, and this is just building on our habit of looking at calorie intake, right, as a way of managing our health and lifestyle. Now, we need to understand what kind of natural resources are being used to produce a particular type of food. Now, for example, India is probably one of the largest exporters of rice, and rice is cultivated with a lot of water. Now, is it necessary that we export water, right? Water is a limited resource. Now, the more we extract it from the ground, the less it is going to be available for future generations or further farming activities. So, the understanding of natural resources that are getting deployed into a particular crop production is a very, very important element for an urban consumer to get hold of. That hopefully will influence the awareness of the environmental and climate impacts of those decisions that they are making, and which would lead to making a different set of choices, which is either refusing something or reducing something. So refusing consumption of crops that are taking a lot of energy from the soil or taking a lot of water for cultivation, vis-a-vis moving to crops that are more beneficial for the environment. So that's one very critical element, but it's a chain of processes that need to be put in place to systematically build awareness for refusing something or reducing something. The second element is a better understanding of the nutritional outcomes of not just one ingredient in your meal, but its place in a bunch of things that are either cooked together or eaten together as part of a plate, right? I think there is very little science that has been deployed to that. So, for example, people say if you cook millets with a little bit of tur dal or arad dal or any of those lentils, you will get a better nutritional outcome. Now, this is not known widely, right? So, just with that example, I think it's important to get a better understanding of what is being cooked together and how it impacts our nutrition. And linked to that is the time of the day of consumption and time of the year of consumption. So, seasonality of that consumption and also within your 24-hour day cycle. I think there a lot of work needs to go. As a country, we have over 5,000 years of knowledge of Ayurveda and other natural sciences. I think a lot of those things need to be revived and understood and documented to be able to bring it to the urban consumer and say these are more informed choices that you can make for improving your consumption habits, which are in sync with nature.